To join me, even though you're all on mute, you will hear yourselves, and I will know that you are saying these words with me where you are. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign in all time and space, who makes us holy in connecting command, commanding us to immerse ourselves in words of Torah. So for those who were with us last week, maybe I'll stop sharing for just a moment. For those who were with us last week, we opened by talking a little bit about what the word psalm means to us, what we think it is. Maybe a poem, maybe a prayer, maybe words of praise or anxiety or hope or fear or gratitude. And how the classical Psalms, the 150 Psalms in the book of Psalms, some attribute to King David. Some would say were written by a variety of different voices over time. Some of the oldest ones are, a mere 3,000 years old. So these texts have been with us for a very long time. And my background is in poetry and creative writing. And before I became a rabbi, I got an MFA in writing and literature. And my path back into meaningful Jewish observance was really through the Psalms, because they were the poetry door that let me in. And also in some way the musical door, because Psalms, at least in synagogue contexts, are often sung. And so between the melodies and the words, the Psalms were part of what drew me back into Jewish life and practice. And we'll be looking at the Psalms over these 4 weeks as readers of Psalms, as prayers of Psalms, which is to say, we who pray their words. So we become prayers, and also as psalmists or poets or writers ourselves, putting fingers to keyboard or pen to paper to delve into the kinds of things that the classical psalmist had to say, but arising out of our own life and experience. Today's focus, last week we looked at Psalms of gratitude. This week we're going to look at Psalms of awareness. I'm going to share my screen again. When I say awareness, I'm talking about a couple of different things. One of them is awareness of the world around us, the beauty of the world, the natural world, the cosmos, if you will, creation, all of creation. And the other thing that I'm talking about is awareness of our own inner lives, our internal landscape. Because in the classical Psalms, often those two things become intertwined, an awareness of the outside world and an awareness of our inner world. So today we're going to look at Psalm 19. And this is a translation, again, from Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi of blessed memory, taken from this book. You can see in my little Zoom window there, Psalms in a Translation for Praying. And is there anyone here who would like to read Rabbi Zalman's rendering of Psalm 19 aloud? If you would, let's see, if you hit the raise hand button, perhaps Julie will magically see that. And
I am magically seeing it. Tully Ann has offered to read.
Okay. God, the heavens manifest your splendor, the sky, your fingerprint, how eloquent its message. Each day speaks to the one that follows, and each night imparts what it knows to the next. Not words, no speech. Though nothing is heard, it has voice. Their messages encircle the globe. To the end of the universe, they give word. The sun, he is at home in them. And he, the sun, like a proud lover who comes forth from his Christ, rejoices like a sprinter speeding on his track. From one end of the sky, he dashes forth, and his circuit touches the entire rim. And there is no hiding from his heat. So is God's teaching total. So does it invigorate the spirit. So trustworthy is God's witness, making the confused wise. So are God's ventures direct, so harsh are at bliss. Awe of God brings purity, lasting through all changes. God's determination makes for truth, in which all are made right. God's ways are more attractive than gold, more than heaps of jewels, more pleasurable than honey and delicate sweets. I am devoted to you. I want to glow in your service. In this practice, I find refuge. Who can apprehend one's own errors? Please clear me from what I am unaware, also from wanton harming. Protect me who serves you. Let evil not control me. Then will I be made whole, and I will be cleared from all guilt. God, may the prayers I speak and the awareness in my heart be transparent to you, God. Please support and free me.
Beautiful, thank you. And I can't help noticing that you're using that beautiful Zoom backdrop where it looks like you're speaking to us from space, above planet Earth, I think, which it feels so perfect for the psalm that begins, the heavens manifest your splendor, the sky your fingerprint, right? There's the splendor of the heavens all around you in your Zoom background. Any thoughts, questions, reflections? What comes up for us encountering this psalm today? We'll harvest a couple of reactions from the room before we move on to our next translation.
People can chat in the chat box or use the raise hand function. I can't actually see waving hands anymore.
So I will say one of the things that I love in this psalm is the way he moves from first the heavens, the whole skies have God's fingerprint, right? All of creation is touched with God's fingerprint, has the uniqueness that comes from God, the way our fingerprints are unique. And then he moves from there's no hiding from the heat of the sun or the vision of God. From there to God's Torah is total, God's teaching is complete. So we move from the outer world of the cosmos to the inner world of what we glean from Torah, which to me is very beautiful. Is there anything in here that you particularly love or don't love or find confusing that you have a reaction to?
There's a few comments I see in the chat box. One is it feels very visceral and that it seems like there's some overlap with the Psalms of Praise. Mm-hmm. Another, it's all encompassing is God. And Audrey says there seems to be some petition as well.
Yes, absolutely. Right, so this is a psalm that I've classified as a psalm of awareness, but it is also in some way a psalm of gratitude. And also a psalm where the psalmist is asking, right? Who can see one's own mistakes? Please, God, clear me from the things I've done that I'm unaware of. So another category that I could put this in is a psalm of teshuvah, of repentance and returning to God, turning oneself around because of that, right? Please clear me, please let evil not control me, clear me from guilt, let me be transparent to you. So we have a different rendering of this psalm. This is from a poet named Ruth Bryn. And would someone like to read this one aloud? She's titled it, The Heavens Declare the Glory of God, Psalm 19.
You can tell me in the chat box if you'd like to read this, and I can unmute you. Great. Miriam, I'm just going to find you over here and unmute you. Go ahead. Oh, wrong Miriam. Sorry. Okay, Miriam Sukoff.
Yeah. God wrote a record in rocks and stars, the tale of creation for us to read. The old earth, rivered with ice and molten rock, revolved through eons of thrusting mountains and glaciers. The earth, first burning, then flooded and freezing, prepared through unhuman time the crust that would support life. God writes in the planets and galaxies and systems of stars a continuing record of the universe. God writes in vast symbols a story of unending creation, of a universe expanding and bursting into outer space. Trembling, we contemplate the work of God. Trembling, we pray to our Creator. You who alone understand the world you are making, pity the weaknesses of our insights. Forgive our faltering pursuit of knowledge. Plant in us the drive to search for truth. Add to our understanding the dimension of humility. Teach us your ways.
Thank you for reading that. So reactions to this rendering or this poem rooted in the psalm. Does this one work for us? Does it not work for us? Does it feel to you like it comes out of the psalm, or does it feel like something completely new?
Michael says, I love this idea of whole history written.
Mm-hmm.
Azaria says, I'm struck by the awesome audacity of us humans to dare to read this expansive story that is so far beyond us.
It's beautiful, yes.
And Joyce says, I have two translations, the Stone Edition and Robert Alter's, so I've seen four, each one different.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? So I've got Robert Alter's open in front of me. I didn't include it in the handout just because I didn't want to give you guys, 5 pages and then only make it through 2 of them again this week. But Robert Alter begins, the heavens tell God's glory and his handiwork sky declares. Which I think you can see how Ruth Bryn made it from there to how she begins. God wrote a record in rocks and stars, the tale of creation for us to read.
Maureen says it reminds me of archaeology.
Oh, that's a beautiful idea. Sure, in the archaeological record and in the geological record, we see God's voice, God's fingerprint, God's touch on creation. And I think this one too, at least for me, has the outward awareness of the miracle of the cosmos and the miracle of our planet, and this kind of inward awareness of trembling as we contemplate the work of God, right? Of really feeling awe in the original sense of awe as this is something awesome and awe-inspiring, like standing in front of Niagara Falls. It's just so vast and just so extraordinary that the human heart quakes a little bit at being in the presence of something so amazing. And I feel like that's evoked for me in this poem or this psalm. So I want to take us into a different little piece of writing. This is another contemporary piece by Ernesto Cardenal called Bless the Lord. And I'll read this one out loud because I love reading this one out loud and it's short. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Lord, my God, you are great. You are clothed with the energy of atoms as with a mantle. From a cloud of whirling cosmic dust, as on the potter's wheel, you began to tease out the whorls of the galaxies. And the gas escapes from your fingers, condensing and burning, and you were fashioning the stars. You made a spatterdash of planets like spores or seeds and scattered comets like flowers. So what jumps out at us about this poem? And does it feel to you like it evokes the psalm that we're looking at today? Anyone? So in fairness, I don't know whether Ernesto Cardenal meant this to be a riff on Psalm 19. But to me, the way he's using scientific language, right? The atoms, the whirling cosmic dust, fashioning the stars from God's very fingers, very much evokes for me right? The beginning of Psalm 19, the heavens manifest your splendor, the sky, your fingerprint. And the idea that the sun moving across the sky is a messenger is evoking God's greatness. What do you guys think of the scientific language of whirling cosmic dust and gas condensing and burning? Does that feel appropriate to you?
We have a few comments.
Awesome.
I can read them. Such a poetic way of talking about creation. That's from Maureen. Candace says, trying to capture the feeling of creating, which we sometimes can share, i.e. the sense of flow.
Mm.
Karen says, it reminds me of the heavens and earth. Devorah says, it's more human than godly.
Mm.
Erin says, one differentiation of Judaism or the Israelite religion versus contemporary pagan religions is the early passage from myth to history. The reference in the Hebrew to rising at one end of heaven is reminiscent of the sun god in paganism. The translation here is almost geological.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Right, there's this sort of pagan image. Maybe you think of like Apollo being driven across the sky in his chariot. Wasn't it Apollo, the Greek sun god? My Greek mythology is a little rusty. But I know I remember reading mythological accounts of the sun literally with a chariot moving across the sky, right? That was how the ancients imagined, because they could see the sun rise and move and then set. So it must have been being dragged across the dome of the sky by some kind of conveyance. And the psalmist instead says, no, what the heavens are declaring is the glory of God. This is not about the sun god or the moon god or the whatever god. This is the God of all things. That's the glory that's really being displayed here.
Do we have time for a few more comments, or do you want to move on?
Absolutely. Let's hear a few more comments and then we'll read our last little poem.
Okay, scattered comets like flowers seem to show God's almighty power, able to create amazing comets like man would plant a tulip bulb.
That's beautiful.
And I was surprised by the use of the word atom. God and science are together in this translation. God is a God of science also. I'm not used to these scientific references for Psalms, but it's so nice, awe-inspiring.
Beautiful.
There's no human presence in this last one. And then from Reba, sounds like it's the Big Bang. It's extremely meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Seems too modern for the Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of Psalm 104, which starts the same way.
Mm-hmm. So I'm delighted that I'm hearing both the reaction. I love the scientific language here, and also the reaction. Scientific language doesn't feel right for the Psalms. Because I think those are both deep human reactions to this kind of work. Bearing in mind that the Psalms were written at a much earlier moment in human history, right? A pastoral moment. That's why we get metaphors like in Psalm 23, right? God, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Psalms arose at a moment when that was how, that was the metaphor that we knew for someone who takes care of a flock. Of course, it's the guy with the sheep. Whereas for us as moderns, that language may feel alienating and distancing, unless we happen to keep sheep or goats, which some of us do, but most of us probably don't. But by the same token, this modern scientific language may be alienating or distancing for some of us because it's not our vernacular. It's not it may not be how many of us think about the world around us. I have one other little poem to bring to bear, and this is by Carl Sandburg. I'm sorry, our gender balance on the poems I brought today is only one of them by someone female, but these are the resources I have with me here at home. Anybody want to read this little Carl Sandburg poem called Bless Thee?
You can say yes, me in the chat, and I will unmute you. Great. Amanda Devons, I'm going to find you and unmute you. All right, you're set.
Thank you. Bless thee, O Lord, for the living arc of the sky over me this morning. Bless thee, O Lord, for the companionship of night's mist, far above the skyscraper peaks I saw when I woke once during the night. Bless thee, O Lord, for the miracle of light to my eyes and the mystery of it ever-changing. Bless thee, O Lord, for the laws thou hast ordained, holding fast these tall oblongs of stone and steel, holding fast the planet Earth in its course, and farther beyond the cycle of the sun.
Thank you. First of all, I apologize. As you were reading, I noticed a typo in this handout. Skyscraper should be spelled with a K, not with two C's. Well, no, only God is perfect, and clearly I am not. But that aside, how does this poem land with us? I'm curious in particular, if you're a city dweller, does this speak to you or not? Because I live in a small town in a semi-rural area. So when I look out my window, I'm not seeing skyscraper peaks or tall oblongs of stone and steel, but maybe some of you are.
Couple comments. It feels reminiscent of the Moda'ani prayer, the morning prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like God is compared to an architect.
Mm.
While the science language of above felt familiar, the skyscraper felt alien. I'm autistic and associate skyscrapers with noisy, uninhabitable places.
Mm-hmm.
It is talking directly to God, an element of thankfulness. Relevant for a new landscape with God's light upon it.
Beautiful.
I live in a city with lots of skyscrapers and the sun above, the sky and the moon, and all these things remind me of the Lord.
Beautiful. Well, you and Carl Sandburg, apparently.
I'm in a rural area, but I love cities, and this was so beautiful. It showed the godliness of human work and aspiration.
Beautiful.
I think I missed a few in there. I'm sorry.
These are all wonderful responses. Thank you for them. So I'm going to stop my screen share now, so we will all see more of each other, although not all of each other, because at least from where I sit, we are many screens worth of people, but at least we can see some of each other's faces. So part of what I love about this psalm is the way that it links awareness of the miracles of the natural world, right? The heavens declare the glory of God, the sky, the constellations, and a sense of awareness that I, in my choices and my actions, may not be everything that God wants me to be, and asking for help in becoming more the person I want to be. For me, the link between those two is what's really interesting. How does it feel to look at the world and see God's glory, whatever God asterisk, whatever that word means to you, right? God far above, God deep within, masculine, feminine, non-gendered, creator, wellspring, source, friend, beloved, father, mother, queen, king, all of these different faces that we put on God. But how does it feel to look out at the world and feel wonder at the presence of that source? And then also feel, oh, am I doing a good enough job of being the person that I'm called to be? And how can I ask the creator of the cosmos to help me be a better person, right? There's something kind of chutzpahdik about that, right? I'm talking to the God who created galaxies and saying, you know, your Torah is complete. Please help me be on the right path. And I love the chutzpah of that. There's almost it makes me think a little bit of Avinu Malkeinu, that prayer that we say at the high holidays, or in some renderings, Imanu Malkatenu, our mother, our queen. But either way, there's a juxtaposition of the distant and the close, the transcendent God of the cosmos and the intimate God with whom I can have a conversation about who I want to be. So our little writing exercise today. And by the way, I hope that everyone, a few of you emailed me your poems or your psalms, and I'm so deeply grateful to have them in my inbox. I hope everyone who wants to will share your work on this Google Doc so that we can all read each other's outpourings and offerings. And if you don't want to share it, if you just want to keep it between you and your source, that's fine too. The invitation is to stretch your awareness as far out into the cosmos as you can go. And maybe that means I'm just thinking about this little patch of land right next to me. Or maybe I want to stretch it to think about this whole town or this whole region or the whole state or the whole country or the continent or the globe or the galaxy, however far your awareness wants to go. But lift a little bit out of yourself. And what is the splendor that you see? What is the beauty or the wonder that you see? So we'll take 5 minutes to write. And again, the invitation is to lift as far out of yourself as you want to go. And just write, type, scribble constantly for 5 minutes about the wonder, the beauty, the miracle of the world around us. And in 5 minutes, my little bell will ring and our time will be up. So our 5 minutes for writing start now.